Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I am Andreea Istrate, part of Quistor's team, and I'm happy to have so many people joining today us for a webinar on the power of orchestrations. I really hope I could see every one of you, but it's not possible in the webinar. Maybe next time we'll do a live event. I'm very pleased to see that the J.D. Edwards talks, it's becoming a stronger J.D. Edwards community, and we are hoping to get more and more customers joining us to this monthly series of events. Today, I have the pleasure to invite Mark Herwege, guide you through not only an interesting journey, but also a fun journey in orchestrations to maybe some of you rediscover what you can do with this great tool, but also find new ways to adapt the tool towards your business needs. So I will hand over to Mark now and wishing you a great session. By all means, do not hesitate to interrupt us by asking questions in the chat. If those questions address specifically what Mark is showing, we may respond in due time. But if the questions are more product-oriented, we will draft you an email and send it over in the next couple of days responding to your question. So thank you again, and bonjour, Mark.
Thank you, Andrea. So good afternoon, everyone, and I'm really happy, I'm really pleased to be able to talk to you today about the power of orchestrations. And by now, I hope you've all heard something about orchestrations. Then I'm not saying something totally new when I say that, well, orchestrations is the best thing after boiled water, right? So anything in J.D. Edwards you can do with orchestrations. And what I intend to do today is talk a little bit about a few new features that we've added, but more than that, give you an illustration of what it could be looking like for an end user. So given a simple example, open up the hood a little bit to show you what's behind the scenes of the simple example that I will be demonstrating to you today. So, orchestrations. First of all, before getting there, we are continuously investing in J.D. Edwards, and we're continuously investing in a number of areas. We're investing in applications, new product features and functionality. We are investing in system administration, making it easier, more cost-effective to maintain your system, to update your system. And we are investing, and that's a topic for today, we are investing in J.D. Edwards as a digital platform. And Orchestrator, not only Orchestrator, but Orchestrator is a critical component in that. And it helps us to automate processes, to develop, to create new features, work with the software in different ways, using low-code, no-code tools, to help with integrations. So the J.D. Edwards digital platform, we have all of the J.D. Edwards applications sitting on servers, and in between there, the J.D. Edwards Enterprise One digital platform that is composed of the orchestrator and notifications, the extensibility framework to adjust your user interface, and workflow, a key component as well, in which we've invested a lot the last few years. And that opening up to the outside world as well as inside in applications. Release 24 brings us new functions and features. And you may have noticed since release 22, release 23, we've invested in something called logic extensions, bringing more power to the orchestrator. Everything you could have done before in event rules, you can do with logic extensions. And we've revamped workflow, created a new development environment for workflow. And with release 24, we went on. We added features in all of these areas. One of them being the workflow monitor, and we'll illustrate it later on, where you can easily track what the status is of your workflows, where at what stage they are, if they're held up somewhere, and intervene, change, adapt to that. So that is new in release 24. Also new in release 24, task tracking. Well, there's a lot of things we track inside Enterprise One. So there's plenty of statuses that move forward when something happens, when a transaction happens. What we've added in release 24 is the ability to track user interactions at whatever point in time you want to track something. And we'll illustrate it again. But the real purpose of all of this is to create knowledge, to create information of execution of processes in your system, so that we can draw intelligence from it afterwards. So this is the first step to that: track tasks in the application. And that gets me to the example. And let me tell you a little bit what's going to happen, what you will be seeing. I am in a company, and that company has a warehouse. And the planner finished his day job. Everything is set. Everything is okay. The production and warehouse plans for next week are all set, and he's happy to go home. Now, during the night, something unexpected happens. So there's an air conditioning unit that is leaking, and it may have damaged items in a specific location in the warehouse. The night guard discovers that, and he reports an incident. And of course, he uses Enterprise One for that. The warehouse manager gets notified about it. He looks at the issue and he takes action. First of all, he puts the warehouse location on hold. Note that this is new functionality in release 24. Before, you could put an item on hold, item lots on hold, but not a full location in the warehouse with all the items and lots in that location. So new functionality. The warehouse manager will put the location on hold and will start a process to inform the impacted team members and trigger action from there. So that's a workflow he's starting. So it goes to the planner, it goes to the buyer in our example, and they take action to remedy the problem. So that's what I want to illustrate. And by that, let me go to the software. So I am in Enterprise One, and this is the page, as you see here on the screen, that the night guard has when he logs into Enterprise One in the evening. And there's a few things there. So he can report an incident. He can order pizza. He can learn something about J.D. Edwards Enterprise One. And while he likes to play games as well, he plays Towers of Hanoi in Enterprise One. But right now, he has seen that leak and he's going to report an incident. First of all, before doing that, let's make a little sidestep and go to our location master and in warehouse in branch plant 30. So we see a number of warehouse locations there, and notice the column on the right, location hold code. Everything is approved, so there's nothing on hold. Let me go back to my home page. Report an incident. And here is the little window that our night guard gets, so he can describe in this incident and there's something pre-filled here, but let's make it different. Fire in the warehouse, right? And the date is pre-filled with today's date. Business unit is my business unit, and the location I could put in something else, but let's stick to what's in here. So I'm reporting the incident. The warehouse incident has been reported, and that's it for me. Now I'll switch hats. So I become the warehouse manager. Now, I'm not going to log in and log out here, but notice here, alert, warehouse incident reported, right? And I can have a look here. This is my alert. Notice that there is, so warehouse, fire in the warehouse, at the affected location, and there's a few proposed actions for me. Now, before doing that, let's go back a little bit, and I'm going to show you something about the task tracking. So here is my task tracking, open tasks. There's 3 tasks that have been created here. Status sent. So nothing happened to it yet. I'll click on the first one here, status sent. So task state, task details, so warehouse incident, and a reference to the actions that happens behind it. The reason I want to show it now is it has a specific status, and we'll come back to that. Now, let me go back to my alert here. So there's a few suggestions. First of all, put warehouse location 1A1 on hold. So hold the location. And response, I can complete it, I can reject it. Now, notice that for the demo, we've made it an explicit link here to complete it, to reject it. Of course, completing could happen immediately when we put the location on hold. So, but let's complete this. Complete it. So, second proposed action, initiate the incident response workflow. So I'll initiate it. Result success. I'll complete it as well. Close. And the third one here, submit an incident report. Well, guess what? I'm not big on paperwork. I'll skip this one. I'll reject it. There we go. So I'll close out of my alert here. And let's have a look here at my task status. So open tasks are gone. Here we see completed, rejected, completed. So we are tracking the tasks that the user is taking, and we could pull intelligence from that. So we could run reports and analysis on it. Let's go back to our other open application, which was the location master. And query again. Notice here our location 1A1 is put on hold. So that has happened in the background. Okay, so I'll be switching hats again. And let's go to our work center. And I see here I've got a priority mail. This time I'm the planner. So incident at branch location 1A1. I'm the planner, attention planner. There has been an incident at warehouse location, etc. Recommended action is to run net change MRP and to review the results. Click the link below to accept or reject. Okay, we'll accept. There we go. It's running through. Well, switching hats again. I'm now the buyer. So the previous one went away. A new one arrives here. Buyer, there has been an incident at warehouse location, and with a link again to evaluate the information. Now, we're all running it in one environment. I'm not switching users constantly as we speak. But the idea is that this is presented to different users the way they are using the system. So it could be inside the system, could be an email message taking them there, and so on. So we've run through a very simple process, step by step. There's a lot of things happening in the background here. So how did we get there? How does all of this happen? What is really going on? That's where I'll be getting into a little bit of background details. First of all, clicking this button, report an incident, I'm calling something. And that something is defined in my composed page. So if I go to composed pages here, and I click on I'll go into the configuration of report an incident, I'm calling warehouse incident in here. So that has been configured. And when I call the warehouse incident, that box with input parameters was opened for me. Now let's have, I'm not going to save this. Let's go out and look in our Orchestrator studio what it was that I was calling. Essentially, it's not a straight notification orchestration. It was a notification I was calling, and it's called warehouse incident. So in this notification, there were a few inputs, the inputs that you've seen. So a description with the default value. There's a date set. There's a business unit. There's a location. And there was actually, but it was hidden for you because we defaulted it in a planner address book number and a buyer address book number here. So these were the inputs, and that's what the planner was able to fill out. Then there was a message. And in the message, it's a text that you see here. So attention warehouse manager, there has been an incident, and you see a few things coming in. Incident description, date, business unit, location from the inputs that the night card provided. And there are a set of links defined in here, the proposed actions to take. And the links are defined in the actions. So there's an application link linking me to an incident report. That was actually the incident report. That was the last link here. And there are a few other links. Links calling an orchestration to hold the location. So the hold location orchestration is being called here for branch brand location hold code. And the third one was triggering the workflow. So a link to trigger the workflow. Other interesting functionality and new functionality you see here, task tracking. So in here, for this link, hold location, we have task tracking switched on. And it could be no due date, but there could be due dates defined to this. And in our case, a due date role, it's due in 1 day by 11:55 p.m. And we are tracking for each state. That's what we saw in task tracking. And for each state that we've selected here. So if it's completed or rejected, but could be other states there to be tracked as well. So we've done it here for the hold location, but also for the WMS incident workflow, and actually also for the report incident. So we've switched on task tracking, which makes it possible to track exactly what we've done when reporting this incident.
Mark, one question though, from one of our customers, if the message can be sent to Outlook instead of Message Center. Yes. I assume that is correct. Via.
Yes, it can be. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I go back. So a few orchestrations are at play here. So from that notification, we saw orchestrations being called. And one was the hold location, a very simple one that puts that specific location on hold. Now, how do we create this orchestration? Very simple. You record it in the screen. And it's a very easy orchestration to create, where we say here, hold the location. And the second one was calling that WMS incident workflow. And calling a workflow goes through a logic extension that fills in all of the information that's relevant for the workflow to be called. Also notice here on this orchestration, and that's new in our release 24, switch on monitoring. And if we go and look here, so we can monitor now much more details of the execution of the orchestration. So the details, the inputs and the outputs, step details, step inputs and outputs. So all things that we can now track and see in the Orchestrator monitor when it gets executed, how it executes, and so on. And I'll make a little sidestep later on to show what all of the information that has been tracked on this one. And then through the logic extension here, we call a workflow. And the workflow we call is the Workhouse Incident Workflow, WMS Incident Workflow, this one. So here, start of the workflow, a message goes to the planner. The planner, through the address book, gets into priority mail, but here you see how it gets routed. When the planner approves, a batch program is run, so MRP run. And when he rejects, it goes straight to the buyer. When he approves, an MRP is run and then goes to the buyer. And that's the end of the workflow. So each single step here, a message is sent. It's waiting for that person to take action. And depending on what action he takes, approve, reject in this case, MRP is run or not. Rejection goes to the buyer, and then end of the workflow. And this, of course, is again visible in the workflow monitor. So let's have a look at the monitors here, and I'll start by the workflow monitor. In our workflow monitor, we see, so start time 4:13 today, end time 4:15. So this is the workflow that ran. Start, planner message, info buyer, and so here we see the details. Planner message, approved, info message to the buyer, completed, unopened, completed. So we see the different steps. Now, I ran through it completely, but if you would have looked while we were waiting for the planner message to act, you would have been able to see that here, and you would have been able to take action. Override the person, reassign it to someone else, administrative, reassigning. So all of that would have been possible from this user interface. Now let's go back. The other thing I noted was we could see the details of orchestrations. And note again here, so 3:13 today, WMS incident workflow ran. Total duration 404, and there were 2 steps in there. So orchestration got called, logic extension got executed. Now, it's pretty simple. There was only 1 step in here, but a more complex orchestration would show more details, would show each and every single step in here. And if I click on more details, all of the details of the execution are available to see there if I've switched on tracking of each and every individual step. And of course, that's a lower level from what we've had for a long time, orchestration health, where we see, for instance, the WMS incident workflow here. the status, the metrics of how many successful executions, how many failures, and so on. All available straight from there. Now, as I said in my demo, I simplified it here. The messages went straight to the same user, which of course isn't the real thing to do. Now, how do you know to which planner and which buyer the information should go? Imagine in my warehouse location, I have 10 different products lying there and the whole location goes on hold. I may have to inform 10 different planners and 10 different buyers, right? How do I know? Well, in the item branch information, I have information about the responsible planner, about the responsible buyer. So I can have an orchestration that goes and figures out for all of the items in the location what planner and what buyer to inform. And we do that here, this orchestration. So in this orchestration, we go and look at the items by location, and that is the P4100. We go items by location, and we create a list of the responsible people for all of the items in that location. So in this step here, we get the responsible person in the location. So if I take it step by step here, items by location, we initialize a list. If the list, if we have items in the location, so if it's not empty here, if we come back with items by location, we go and look for, first of all, the responsible planners. So we use logic here, get a responsible planner. If there's a responsible, we add it to the list. And then we look at the buyers. If there's a responsible buyer, we add it to the list. And note here this repeat flag. This essentially says repeat for all items. And keep on adding to the list if the person, the planner or the buyer, is not in the list yet. And at the end, we take everything together from the list and make that list available. So I'll quickly open that logic extension that is used 2 times, once for the planner, once for the buyer. This is how the structure looks like. So it starts with the first part here goes and checks if it's in the list. Is the person responsible for that item already in the list, yes or no? If it's not in the list, at the end here, add it to the list. If it's in the list, just skip. How do we know if it's in the list? Well, we do that here. With a while loop, we go through the existing contacts in the list, so what is already in the list, and we compare it. We compare it here with the address number of the responsible buyer or planner for the item. If it's in the list, he switches on a flag. Yes, we found it. If not, he keeps iterating. So if he comes out of this iteration with nothing found, he's going to add it in the second step. So a basic logic extension to do that, and actually we use it twice. Once for the buyer, once for the planner to generate the output. So that's what you've seen. So the Night Watch, as a very simple user interface, triggers a process. There's a lot of things happening in the background with a few very simple orchestrations, triggering a workflow, putting a location on hold, triggering a workflow to act on it, to find a solution, and to come back to a situation where everything is okay, everything is working properly again. Now, let me go back to my presentation. What have we seen happening in here? What are the functionalities? And there's a set of functionalities that were already there before release 24. So you've seen the orchestrator, you've seen rich formatting of messages. So where I clicked on the links, that message that arrived was nicely formatted with all of the links in there. You've seen action links in the notifications. We launched an orchestration from an Enterprise One page. We've seen notifications. We've launched workflow from Logic Extensions. We've seen Workflow Studio. I have not gone into the planning summary, but that was available before release 24 as well. And with release 24, we were able to put locations on hold. We've had task tracking now. The workflow, there was some extra functionality that made it easier to create this customized workflow. There were notification reminders. So I've pointed out I could put a due date, but there's actually also in the notification, and I didn't point it out, but there was an icon that shows what the remaining time was. And I've shown you the workflow monitor, which was also new. So an example of pulling it all together to have a better user experience to take action on. Now,
before you go into events,
yes,
let's hear some questions, right? Because we are in a live event, and it's a pity not to be also reactive to what the customers want to know. So Adam is asking us, this would be marvelous just to get a handbook of orchestrations out of the box, standard template by module. I wish, but I let you answer.
Well, there are actually a number of orchestrations in the system. So if you, and some of them are available as ESUs from our website support sites as well. So you could install them, but it's true that there's not a large number. Now, that being said, we drink our own Kool-Aid. So sometimes we make things available through orchestrations. And of course, you can use them as examples, as ideas to do your own thing. Now, I'm very sure as well that partners like Quistor can have examples of orchestrations, can build on that.
Yeah.
And another thing I would say is we run events, and I'll come back on that, where we take you through some of these things and build together with you examples that you can build into a library.
Yeah. And I'm sure that no example fits everyone. So you highly customize JD AdWords to respond to your business needs. But having a benchmark, it's always helpful to start somewhere as a basis. Nippon Gases. Hola, Ana, querida Ana. So they are going on release 24, still working on it. However, they cannot see anything on run details. Is there something they need to activate to see run details?
Yes, and you may have missed it, but I actually pointed it out. In the orchestration, the first step in the orchestration, there's a new icon there where you, when you click on it, you get into a window where you define what steps in the orchestration it should track. And that's what you see in the run tasks. So you do it by orchestration. You switch it on by orchestration and you define exactly what you want to see.
Anna and everyone here, you'll receive the recording, and we will help you outside of this webinar to actually successfully do this activity. Thierry, bonjour. So could you share all UDO in XML format in order to import them in the test system?
What I've shown here, pretty much so, but let me go and refer to events there as well, and I'll comment on it straight after.
Okay. And Andy from Christie's was asking us about release 24 templates, working on that. Andy and Paul, Mark here will tell you about the events where you may find more information on release 24. So over to you, Mark.
Yeah, I do see there's a few more
Yeah, typing
people coming in, but well, we can still talk about after I've commented on the events, because the example I've been giving here is something we actually can build up together with you. Many of you may be aware that last year we ran a series of Orchestrator workshops. Well, we are going to repeat it, and we've created new content, and here is actually the schedule as we speak. And most of them have links here. So, but Quisto
we
can
will
make
send them.
the links available to you as well. So we are going to repeat it, and you see here all of the locations that we list are, or most of them are 2 days. 2 days is on purpose. So if you already attended an Orchestrator workshop with us, only 1 day is necessary. The first day is actually pretty much, to a large degree, a repeat of what we've done already. But we don't want to leave anyone behind. So we can, or if you have other people in the organization that would be interested in this, please send them to day 1 of the workshop. Day 2 of the workshop is doing exercises like the one that you've just seen. So build it up from scratch, doing exactly what you've seen there and more. So we'll doing deep dives in workflow as well. So creating workflows. You've seen that little pizza icon on my screen earlier on. Well, we'll create a workflow when the night guard orders a pizza, because when he orders Pizza Hawaii, that's not normal pizza. That requires VP approval, right? And sending it through an approval hierarchy, different types of hierarchies, rules, etc. So we build it up from scratch together with you. It's a very nice learning experience and finding out about what's possible. And you see the dates here on the screen.
Just to add to this, the workshops are 1 full day, so 8 hours hands-on. Quistor is supporting these Oracle events, and they are free of charge.
So, and every time, the second day is the advanced one, weathering the storm. The first day is starting from zero, starting from scratch, but you're free to take 1 or 2 days or both of them. As we speak, the exception is Barcelona, which is only the advanced session for now.
Okay.
And that is it.
Shall we play the game, the Hanoi game? I really enjoyed that one. It was a clear example of how you can also get it out of the box, a sort of orchestration.
Sure. I can go back here. So, Towers of Hanoi. What is Towers of Hanoi? So, Tower of Hanoi is a little game, and in here on the main part of the screen is actually only a link, an embedded website. Tower of Hanoi. The purpose is move the disks from one tower to another, but never stack a larger one on top of a smaller one, and you can move one by one. Now let's play it with 4. So the way you would be doing is something like this. As we speak, and so on until you have the whole stack moved. Okay. Now it gets complex very quickly. So what have we done? We've created a logic extension that solves the Tower of Hanoi problem. How many disks do you want? 7 disks.
7. Yeah.
So 7 disks. He's calculating it for me. It's a logic extension that runs behind the scene. I can download the file. He has actually written the result in a file here. And I already had a version on there, but we've got it, the new file there. Did it open it? Well, it's opening Excel for me. And let me show Excel on the screen here. Here are the instructions.
Oh, yeah.
And notice if we have 7 disks, it is a minimum of 127 moves. And all of that is done with one logic extension. So and where do we have it? Tower. So this is the logic extension that solves it. Now the whole thing is, notice logic extension here. It's actually recursive. It's calling itself to solve the problem. Not going to get into the details of how is this done, but the point here is is illustrating the power of what you have at hand. And someone who's a programmer may like this logic.
That sounds pretty cool, Mark. I definitely like it. Good.
Any remaining questions?
Yes, there is one from Arnold. Will JD Edwards come with a resource page where we can find information on how some functionality work, like frequently asked questions page, as currently I need to rely on a lot of YouTube tutorials?
Yeah, there are learn by examples. There are indeed quite a few videos where we show these things. Now, everything we have is grouped together on learnjd.com. Not everything is videos, but I do know that quite a few are indeed videos to bring it all together. I think another interesting thing to look at learnjd.com is there is a timeline of what got added to orchestrations, workflow, etc. And if you look at that timeline, it points at the specific things that have been added, and very often also with or a little video or a learn by example, which helps again to understand what is new, what you may not know yet, and help you to look at the right things instead of being trying to look at everything which you may already know.
Good. Thank you, Mark. So with those thoughts in mind, if there aren't any other questions, I would like to tell you what's happening next. In March, we want to meet you at Cloud World. We have a booth as Quistor, and Mark also is there with the Applications Unlimited team. He will deliver certain JD Edwards sessions at the booth. I'm happy to put you in contact with Mark. So give us a shout if you're on March 14th at the Oracle Cloud World in Excel. Also, on March 18th is the next JD Edwards talk session. This time, Mark's colleague, Paolo Borriello, will speak to us about artificial intelligence and machine learning around JD Edwards, trying also to get inside of some demo tools to show you what exactly you could achieve. I know that these are very, wonderful things to have around and say, oh, we may be far off, but I assure you that having the right people in your company trained for such skills like orchestrations, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, you could adapt your business and use those great tools to get more efficient. So let's keep this series rocking, and I'm sure I can count on you on the next session because Paolo is almost as great speaker as Mark is. Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you.
Have a nice afternoon, everyone.